Hi, I'm Jack Kánfilld, and welcome to another expert interview of the Inner Circle Club. Today, my guest is Nikолай Latansky. He's the world's first Russian-speaking motivational speaker and the #1 trainer and success coach for the Russian-speaking world. In this interview, Nikолай is going to share with us his secrets of success, which made him the most famous and most successful Russian-speaking trainer and coach in just a few years. Only in business for 5 years as a speaker, trainer, and coach, he's already presented live in 13 countries around the world. He has clients in 54 countries on 4 continents around the world, and when he speaks, his average room size is 200 to 400 people. And last year, he made just under $1 million. So join me now with Nikолай Latansky. So Nikолай, you're here in the United States. You're here very often. I see you a lot in the United States. What brings you to the United States this time?
Yeah, as I call to myself, as I say it, the United States is kind of university for me. I'm working in the success industry, and what I notice, almost all the success studies, all success work comes from the United States. So it happens now that almost every month we come here to go to another training, a seminar, or to work with my coaches, who happen to be also Americans. So United States is kind of university for me and for my wife, for us.
Very good. Why do you call yourself the #1 trainer and success coach for the Russian-speaking world and the world's first Russian-speaking motivational speaker?
Yeah, when I started this business in 2007 and I realized I do want to be the motivational speaker, actually I realized it while reading your book, being totally exhausted after my business, my engineering business, and I was lying on a beach in Egypt and reading the Success Principles book, totally exhausted, drinking a lot of alcohol, which I never do anymore, eating a lot, smoking cigarettes, which I also don't do. And I was reading the Success Principles book, and for me, the Success Principles book has one question going through the whole book, asking what is it that you really want to do in life. And I realized I want to be the motivational speaker. And at that point of time, and back in 2007, their industry didn't exist. So when I went to Google and I tried to find motivational speaker in Russian, there was 0 results. And I made a risk. I went there and I said, I will be the first Russian speaker, motivational speaker. I didn't want to be the coach. I didn't want to be a trainer. Actually, back then I didn't know what coaching is. Later, just half a year later, I learned what coaching is. And then when I started to study a lot in this industry, the training industry and coaching industry, I passed through dozens of seminars and trainings in the United States, and it is the fact, the moment that I am the most successful Russian-speaking trainer and success coach, and I'm the first Russian-speaking motivational speaker.
That's exciting. So what do you attribute that success to? I mean, now you're recognizably the most famous Russian-speaking success coach and speaker and trainer, and you do workshops all over the world, not just in the Russian-speaking world. How did you get there? What do you attribute your success to?
And I would say there's a lot of things, and one of the things is I always studied from the best of the best, like from you, Jack, and from many other people. And so my message and the content is always of the highest possible quality. Another thing I learned from you again was their law of transparency. And early in my career realized when you're natural, when you're yourself, even if you don't like yourself, the first step to improve yourself is to recognize who you are with all your drawbacks and all the mistakes you are making, and then to change them. And I was willing to show to the audience, the public, that I'm not perfect, and I am working on myself. And people really bought it, and they still buying it because they want to see the real person, not a perfect person. And if they see that I'm a little bit further ahead of them, they are willing to follow me and study from me.
So you think this transparency idea is that they feel like you're a normal person like they are, and if you can do it, they can do it? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and I'm also saying that nobody is perfect. If somebody says, I'm already perfect, I have perfect finance, my finances are just okay, I have perfect relationship, my health and body is in perfect condition, then
There's no room for growth.
There's no room
basically.
for growth.
So they actually stop themselves by
And that's what I
pretending to
said.
be what they're not.
A lot of trainers do this mistake. They want to show up as if they are perfect, and that doesn't work.
Do you think it's because they're afraid that if they don't show up as perfect, people won't trust them to help them become perfect?
Yeah.
You know, what Mikola just talked about in terms of transparency is so important, because when someone's open, honest, and vulnerable and shares who they really are, all their flaws and foibles as well as the things that they're successful at, we end up leaning toward them. We feel more trusting of them. They're not trying to impress us. They're really just expressing who they truly are. And when they do that, we get to realize, hey, here's someone just like me, has the same kind of struggles and challenges and conflicts in their life that they have to deal with, but they're being more successful than I am. They're not perfect any more than I'm perfect. And so then I can learn from them, and I can realize if they can do it, I can do it. So this is really critical, not just as a speaker, a trainer, and a coach, but everywhere in your life, with your relationships at home, your relationship with your colleagues in business, your relationship with your clients and people that you serve out in the world. Now, you've performed live in lots of countries. I mean, every time I see you, you're going to Jamaica, Siberia, you're going to all these different places that you've spoken in Canada. How many countries have you spoken in live now? And when did you start exactly doing this international travel?
I started after I was working solely in Ukraine, in my home country, for probably 2.5 years or 3 years, and then I was invited first to Russia, and then it just started. It's
exploded.
It's unfolded, yeah. And up until now, I spoke and I did live event in 13 countries. Next week, in 2 weeks, it will be my 14th country in South Africa, where I'm going to speak at their professional speaker convention there.
Wow.
And there are plans, a lot of other plans for this year.
Now, you mentioned that. You spoke at the Global Speaker Summit in the Netherlands. You're going to speak in South Africa at their Professional Speakers Convention. How do people around the world learn about you? I mean, here you are in the Ukraine, which, it's a great country, but it's not in the middle of everything.
Absolutely not.
In terms of the personal development world. Yeah. And yet you're being invited to speak to professional speaking conferences all over the planet. How did you get known? How did they find you?
Yeah, what funny thing happened again, thanks to you and your breakthrough to success training. And I'm a big believer of the ask, ask, ask principle. And I was invited to speak at the Global Speaker Summit in Holland only because I was standing up in your breakthrough to success training and sharing with probably 300 people what my next big goal would be to speak internationally. And it happens that one of the chairmen of that convention from the Netherlands was in the same room.
Oh, very good.
And next break in the toilet, he approached me, gave me his business card and said, I need you to speak in Netherlands. So we get connected a few days later, and a few months later I was speaking on that big stage.
Well, that's an example of two great principles. Number one is just show up. Just keep putting yourself out in the world because you were here in the training. You were available to get known. And then ask, ask, ask. You were up there saying, hey, this is my next step. I want help.
Yeah.
Tell people what you want to do, and they'll probably help you do it. That's way cool. As far as I know, you gather the biggest training programs in countries in the former Soviet Union. How do you do that, and why do people choose you?
Yes, it's true. We have our rooms now on average from 200 to 400 people, sometimes bigger numbers. And next September, we are expecting to have 1,000 people in a room. I think people choose me, again, because they trust me. And what I discovered a few years ago when I was starting my podcasting, back 3 years ago, I think, 2.5 or 3 years ago, I was at a moment of a time when I felt that I need to share my knowledge a lot. Because I was just a full box of all the knowledge, and I didn't have enough room to share. And I was actually looking for a conference room to meet and to find a group of people, like 20, 30 people, to come to me every week, and I would share with them. And when I was thinking and looking for this kind of opportunity, a friend of mine approached me and said, you know what podcasting is? I don't know what podcasting is. You just take your recording device, or you speak in front of your computer, and then you upload it to internet, and people can listen what you have to share. And I was blown away with the idea, and I started to do podcasting every day, like 5, 7, 8 minutes, and I was sharing my knowledge, I was sharing my wisdom, I was sharing my insights, and my room started to getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when I was asking people, why are you in my room? They said, you know what? I was listening to your podcast, to what you have to say, what you have experienced, what you have come through. And it wasn't always just how good I am. It was always sharing. I was also sharing their challenges I was coming through. And they were telling me, my clients were telling me, after 2 weeks listening to you, I realized I know you, I trust you, and I want to learn more from you. So when I started to share myself freely and sharing who I am, my rooms started to grow.
Now you started with audio podcasts, and then I think the last time you were with me, you were recording me on a video. So now are you doing video podcasts?
And now it is probably 1.5 years when we are doing video podcasts, at least on average once a week, sometimes twice a week, or even more often. And that's what people really love to see. And when we travel all over the world, we find nice places, and then I share what I learned. And all of the video podcasts, actually, as they used to be the audio podcast, they are very, very transformational. And I don't know how it happens, but in 5 minutes, I'm able to kind of transform person who is watching this video. And it's not about showing up how cool I am, where I am now, but it's really about what will happen to the listener or the watcher after he or she just watched this few minutes video.
So you're giving them real value.
Yeah, and I would say this is my secret of how I'm doing videos. Because when I go to the internet and I see people trying to do video marketing, most of them fail just because they don't understand this small piece that the video will work only if it changed people's life.
Very good. So as you're building this amazing career, what are the laws of success that you're mostly focusing on, that you're using to not only build your own career, but also teach your students?
Again, Jack, I cannot say it without mentioning the Success Principles book. And actually, when I was reading your book, and at the end of 2006, I was realizing that in the next 20 years, there will be hardly another book on success such contained with all the advice necessary to achieve success in life. And I would say everything what you are teaching in the book of the Success Principles, I am applying in my life.
Now, you've gone on to train with a lot of other people.
Yes.
Harv Eker and Lisa Nichols and so on and so forth.
A lot of.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things I really admire about you is you are a consummate learner. You are always out there continually saying, who knows something else that I need to learn, that I can learn from and become more effective and more powerful. Now, here you are forging ahead, and you talk about transparency. Have you had any failures in your business as you've been moving forward?
I had a lot of failures in my previous business, in my relationship, in my previous relationship. I cannot say that I had a big and huge failure in my business right now, but I already have some of them. Like there was a partnership which didn't work the way I wanted to. There was some disappointments with people we hired for our company, and there were also failures. I would call them failures, and actually I thought they were failure when I was kind of mistreated my clients. And there was a case, the person, unhappy person, he was very unsatisfied with my program, and he was doing actually nothing for the half a year, and then he called me and said, give me my money back. And I was really feeling, I was putting a lot in him, and I wanted him to succeed. Half a year, doing nothing, and this was a moment where I was just exploding, and I started really to using all the bad words I know. And after 5 minutes, he said, oh, this is a nice recording. I'm going to put it on the internet. And this was just a disaster. I was sitting on a couch probably for 10 minutes doing what I'm doing now. He's going to upload my all the vocabulary I know in the worst vocabulary the Russian people know, and he's going to upload in the internet. Then after 10 minutes, I again thought about the law of transparency and said, you know what, I will be the first who is going to tell the truth and the news. So we went to the street. We were in the Beverly Hills at that day, and I was making a video saying there are no perfect people. We are all growing. We are all making mistakes. And me, being a personal development trainer, yes, I can do all mistakes too. And please understand, we are all developing. And he didn't upload it, the audio, because
it already happened. Yeah.
Because already, yes, I am. Yes, I was using the worst words I ever knew in the Russian vocabulary.
Right.
And I just acknowledged it, and I was transparent.
Very good. So why do you think most people in this business of speaking, coaching, training, etc., fail?
This is
struggle.
This is a good question.
They really have a hard time.
And there is a number of reasons which I teach when I teach people how to grow their business, actually how to start first as a trainer, as a coach, as a speaker. Many people don't really realize that this is the business. And you really need to work on the business or in the business and be fully committed. Many people came into training or coaching or speaking business. They try for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. They do not earn anything, and then they quit. What I have experienced, especially when I was starting the business, the first Russian-speaking motivational speaker, nobody knew in Russia or former Soviet Union country what motivational speaking is. I didn't earn money for 6 months. I was sitting at home, I was studying, I was trying to find the market, I was putting my website, my first clients, which I found for coaching, were on their adult sites, dating sites.
Really?
In 2007, the idea popped into my mind. I had their profile on an adult site, on their dating site.
Yes, dating site.
And then one day, the idea came, why not to turn this profile into coaching services profile? And I did. And I started to find my clients. But the thing is, for 6 months, I didn't get anything. I wasn't paid for 6 months. I was taking all of my savings, and I was already borrowing money from other people. And after 6 months in the business, I earned my $50, and I was extremely happy. And next month, 7 months in business, I earned $200, and I was extremely happy. And at 8 months, I earned $3,000, and then it started to grow. For me, starting a new business, starting a new career, it's always, not always, but for me, for most people, it's going down. It's like digging the foundation.
Yes.
And people just want to, they were in one career and they want to go to the next level, and they think they will be just upwards way. From my experience and from experience of many people I know, most of the time it's going down to create the foundation, and only then it will pay back.
I agree with you. I can remember my first speaking engagement. Well, I did a lot of them for free, just like you. And then my first engagement was $25. And I was excited for the $25. And then, eventually it was $100, and then it was $300. And then I remember years later, it was $1,000 for a one-day workshop. And I was like, I went and bought a bottle of wine and celebrated with my wife and thought this was really great. And now it's many, many multiples of that.
What I also notice in this industry, when people come to the industry, they see on me, they see on other successful people, they see how big my rooms are, how big my earnings is, and they want to have the same success next day. And what I'm teaching people, be happy with $10, be happy with $20. You do your first coaching session, and don't have this envision to have this amazing career, but live here now and be happy with what and grateful with what you already have, and it will expand, it will grow.
Right.
But many people come in this business, they go to my website, they see how it's created, they just copy and paste. They even, I also see people put in the calendar with international speaking events, which never...
They don't even have?
They don't even have. They're trying to impress people as cool they are, as how cool they are. But they don't, I would say they just don't vibrate on that level yet.
The energy's not there, right?
People don't trust. Still, people can read all their accolades you kind of have, but they don't believe it. They don't believe them. And but as I say, the big success starts with small steps and small successes.
That's one step at a time.
Yeah.
One of the principles in my book is called be willing to pay the price. You were willing to do that. What would you say is the single most important piece of advice you could give someone that wants to start out in this business of human development, coaching, training, speaking?
For me, what always worked, and again, this is your principle from your book. I don't remember exactly how it's called, but find a mentor.
Yeah.
Find the person who is already there where you want to be, and be under him. Be under. How do you say it?
Find a wing to climb under. Was what we said.
Find a wing to climb.
A wing of a bird, a mentor, exactly.
A mentor, and I'm a big believer that in mentorship, and I always find people who are already there where I want to be, and I study with them. And it's not only about training and speaking or coaching business, it's about anything and everything. If you want to shortcut your way, just come to people who already did this big work before you, and they will quicken and intensify and shorten their...
Right. There's actually a study out now, Mikola, where they talk about, that it takes about 7 years, 10,000 hours to master something.
To master.
However, there's a new study that shows that if you hang out with masters, it actually can happen faster. So when you're working with someone who's already achieved that level as opposed to doing it on your own, and you've done that, you've constantly put yourself in the field of people who are already successful like you want to be. Now,
you know what?
Go ahead.
I recently came to the idea. If you want to be the master, you have to study with the master. The people who are doing anything without a master, they are still amateurs, even if they have already the name.
Yes. Right.
And we have a lot of them, actually.
Yes, I know we do. I know we do. I saw a quote recently. It said, "A master is not the one with the most students. A master is the one who produces the most masters."
Yeah.
So you're making me look good. I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
What Mikola just said about having a mentor, which we call finding a wing to climb under, is so important. Early on in my career, I got to meet a man named W. Clement Stone, and he became my mentor for a number of years. And he was a self-made multimillionaire worth $600 million. He had built this up through the insurance industry. He was a publisher of Success Magazine. He had all kinds of other businesses. He was in real estate and publishing books and all that. And he was super successful, kind of a Richard Branson type with lots of different ventures underneath him. And he took me under his wing because I asked him to. And for a number of years, he mentored me. But I remember the first day I ever met him, and it was kind of an intake interview, if you will. And he asked me, he said, "Jack, do you take 100% responsibility for your life?" And I said, I think so. He said, "Son, it's a yes or no question." And I said, I'm not even sure I understand the question. He said, "Well, have you ever blamed anyone for anything?" I said, "Yeah." "Have you ever complained about anything?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Then you don't take 100% responsibility." And he went on to teach me about how to take 100% responsibility and how to give up complaining and blaming and really take charge of my life. And we went on, there were 3 other things we talked about that day. Do I hang out with people? Are they positive or negative and so forth? That alone, that 1 hour changed my life. But fortunately, I was able to spend 2 more years with him, learning from him, and literally taking my life to another level. So find a wing to climb under. When you're marketing in Russia and Russian-speaking areas of the world, is there something different that you do? Do you need a different marketing strategy than you do, let's say, in the United States or in Western Europe?
Oh, what I learned is that the funny thing, people in Russia, and it's the conditioning coming from the Soviet Union, they think always that here in Russia or in Ukraine or in Kazakhstan, we have to do things different than Americans do. But the truth is, like everything in the world, we are all under the same laws of success, laws of the universe. And what works here, from my experience, and will work also in Russia and in Ukraine. And I study here in the US, and I almost fully applied it to my business in Ukraine and Russia and all other Russian-speaking country, and it does work. And when I've traveled all over the world, I see how globalized we are. Mm-hmm. We wear the same brand of their clothes. The cars almost everywhere are the same. People today, in this today world, we are so much similar, not only in the outer world, I mean, not only in the outer thing, but also in our inner values and our inner goals. And
one of my great mentors was a woman named Virginia Satir, and she was a family therapist, and she was amazing. And in fact, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, was partially formed by people who studied how she worked with people. And she said, everywhere in the world, people are the same. They have the same needs and desires. They want to be loved. They want to be significant. They want to make a contribution. They want to feel safe. They want their children to grow up happy and healthy, and so on and so forth. And the cultures are different, but underneath all that culture, the human needs are the same. And so remembering that, as you have pointed out, is very valuable, I think, when we market to people.
And you probably know that there are cultures that are not hugging.
Yes.
But what we learn, regardless where we are, in Jamaica or in India or in Malaysia, Maldives, when we are connected to a person and we really feel this wish to hug, we ask the question, can I hug? And there was never the answer no. Everybody wants the hug, even if it's not culturally accepted.
Right, because we all have a need to be touched. Yeah. That was one thing she said.
And actually, Virginia Satir said about this,
yes.
4 hugs a day, 8 hugs a day, and 12 hugs a day.
Right, 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 for maintenance, 12 for growth.
Yeah, and we're hugging people all over the world. That's what people need.
That's right. We could start an international hug society or something like that. So, we're talking about promotional strategies and how people are the same all over the world. Now, you've been using video strategies. We kind of mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that anymore in terms of some of the specific things you do with that?
I would just emphasize that every time I'm on stage, every time I'm in front of the camera, every time I doing anything, writing an article, my biggest question is what will happen with my listener or their reader. And if you have this question, not how you will look nice, what clothes you have, what the background you have in the video, but what really person will get from this video and how his or her life will change, this makes a huge difference, because when you move the focus from yourself to them, everything changes. The words you are using change, their ideas you're delivering change, and the quality and the value of whatever you are producing changes.
Right.
And what I'm doing always is my videos, and we have now almost 200 videos, like 180 or almost 200 videos. Before I stand in front of the camera, my wife, who is a very, very good coach, she is doing a coaching session for me. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10, and sometimes half an hour or 1 hour, unless I got this strong feelings that now I've got what I need to share. And before we are doing the coaching session, I never start to speak to the camera. And
I need to go find my own Tatiana and I can have this experience.
As I say, coaching is a way to open up your inner genius. And I've noticed so many times. I thought I'm going to make a video podcast. I feel like I already know what to say, but after just a few questions, I easily realized that this was just on a scale from 1 to 10. I thought it was 10. Now it's 2, because with a good coaching questions, a good coach can really open up their genius, and then people will benefit from it.
Cool. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. You weren't expecting this, I don't think. So you say that what I want to do is I want to transform the viewer, right?
Yes.
And right now we have viewers, and we're here doing an interview, and you haven't had your coach hasn't coached you yet, but what could you say to the people we're speaking to? Primarily, it sounds like people who want to be coaches, trainers, and speakers, and motivational and self-development people and so forth. In this moment, if you were just to speak to them from your heart, from whatever is present for you, and I know you've shared some strategic things that are useful in being transparent, what would be transparent for you to share with them right now that you think could have a transformational effect on the viewer?
My biggest hurt is when I see people who are starting in the business. They want to be like somebody else is. They try to copy people, they try to model people, and they just put on the mask. And my message is, and I actually am going to record this. I'm going to record this video in New York in just few days. My wish is that what I want to share is everybody is a genius. Everybody has their own unique talents and gifts that we have to share to this world. If we try to copy somebody or model somebody, we are not ourselves. And I call these people kind of plastic people. And when we look into ourselves and recall why we are here, what our task is to share with the world, what gifts to present, we just become magician. And that's what I always want people to really hear when they try to start in the business. Don't copy anybody. Just you can see how other people do business strategically, how they think, but be yourself. And when you are truly yourself, people will feel it, and people will get connected with you, and they will study from you and teach and follow you. That's my message to anybody in the world.
I totally agree with that, by the way. I think, I always was myself when I was speaking, except when I did my first audio cassette album, back when we still had cassette tapes. And I didn't know how to do that. So I listened to someone who had the most cassette tapes out there, and he talked very quietly. And so I thought, well, that's what you're supposed to do. So I did that. I think I put everyone to sleep, So it was good for going to bed with if you were an insomniac. But my next album is much more dynamic. I find if I'm in front of a live audience as opposed to just in a studio, that works for me better because then there's a dynamic relationship. And so I started being myself. So I can speak that you're absolutely correct about that. Now, what are your plans for the future? Here you are. You're doing really, really well. I'm really impressed with how well you're doing. Where do you see yourself going next?
We have the schedule for the whole year already. And when people ask me what are my plans, I usually don't have big plans. I have my agenda is usually 1 year ahead. But I do trust the universe, and I do trust the connections, people I will meet on my way, and I just open to any possibilities, and I live in the flow. And I don't know what will be in the next year, but I'm pretty sure what is going to happen in next month and a few months from now, and just open to what surprises.
So you're out there doing your work, you're doing the marketing strategies you have, and then you're trusting that people will be attracted and you'll get more invitations. And but I love your strategy of staying in constant contact with people through your transparent blogs and blog posts and videos and audios and so forth. And you've produced a lot of product. I mean, a lot of things that people can take advantage of. And so then it's just kind of stepping forward, putting some things on the calendar, and then leaving some space open, trusting the universe. But you have a vision that you want to make a difference in the world, I assume. So what is your overall mission, vision, purpose? How do you define that?
You know what? I don't have the vision. If I do want to address the stadiums, or I want to run the most viewed TV show, maybe there will be some media which we don't know now about their existence now.
So you're just living on total trust? Great. Well, no, I totally acknowledge that. That's great. That's a great place to be.
Sometimes I have the picture, I'm speaking in front of the stadium, but it just will be probably just a stage in my career. I know people who dreaming every day. They start their day dreaming. One day they will speaking in the front of the stadium with 100,000 people. Sometimes I do have this small vision. When it comes, you entertain it.
You allow it to be there. Very good.
Yeah.
So if people want to learn more about you, let's say they want to do coaching with you, they want to learn about your programs, your training programs, they want to hire you as a speaker, they want to get into one of your mastermind groups or see what products you have available in terms of videos and audios that can help them, how can they reach you?
The easiest way to put Nikолай Латанский in any search engine, or to go directly to my website, which is www.latansky.com.
Latansky.com. That's easy enough.
Yes.
Very good. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you'd love to share, or anything that you want to say to complete this? Or we're not in any hurry here, but I want to make sure that you get your...
I can only share, if you are looking for the teacher and a mentor in the English-speaking area, I can only recommend Jack. And you know what, Jack? Sometimes ago, when I was thinking about my teachers, there are teachers with whom I studied, and I never studied again because I overgrown them, because they have one topic, they're teaching for 10 years, they are good mastering it. You come to them, you study from them, you got this for yourself or for your business, and then you can use it. And this teacher just stays like in the past. And then I was thinking about you, why I'm studying with you for so many years, and I realized you will be the teacher with whom I will be studying up until the last day. Why? Because you are studying every single day. You are developing every day. So this is why I'm always studying with you, and I would recommend you, if you are looking for a teacher in English speaking, in English language, not only English actually. There are so many books translated, but my biggest teacher, my number one teacher is Jack, and that's what I want to share to the audience. To say.
Well, I'll also say that if you want someone that speaks Russian, don't call me. call Nikолай, Latansky.com, and have him do that. And you do English-speaking things as well in Holland and in South Africa and Jamaica. And
but my primary market is now Russian-speaking. Maybe we'll come to America.
Yeah, you never know.
Later on.
You never know. Speak at Yankee Stadium in New York.
Would be good.
It would be good. It would be good. Well, I want to thank you very much for joining me today and allowing me to interview you. It's always a thrill to be with you. You're so much light coming out of your eyes, so much love coming out of your heart, so much solidness, standing in your truth. I just really admire you, and I'm glad to be associated with you. And to say in front of everyone, I love you, admire you, respect you, and recommend you to anyone who wants to work with you.
Thank you very much, Jack.
And thank you once again for joining us for another wonderful Inner Circle Club interview, and we will see you next time.